you put it with. I did.
You ready, guys?
With the fog.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our commission meeting. I have an announcement to make before we get started so that everybody will know. For the very first time, we're doing a live broadcast of this commission meeting. It is on UDOT's YouTube page. It is also being recorded and will be posted out there. So all of those who speak today will need to be very clear and loud so that they can be picked up, especially up here where we do not have the microphones. But please be cognizant of the fact this is being broadcast for the first time. And so this is kind of an experiment, but this is something that we will be doing ongoing. We ask everybody to please speak up clearly, and when you introduce yourselves and speak, please be sure that we are able to get your name and speak up. So we're moving into the 21st century and broadcasting this on our system so that people can tune in. We know that there's thousands out there eagerly watching our broadcast commission meeting.
I think there's 4 commissioners.
4,000?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
4,000.
Well, welcome. We're pleased that you're here. We want to move, first of all, to the approval of our minutes. So I'll entertain a motion from members of the commission.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Let's spend a minute now and introduce those who are here, especially the commission and the UDOT, but we also want to recognize any of the other elected officials that may be here joining us for our commission meeting. Gail, can we start down there with you, and let's have an introduction.
Thank you. My name is Gail McKechnie. I'm a commissioner at large. I live in UDOT County near Vernal.
My name is Dan McConkey. I'm a commissioner at large and I reside in Washington County.
It's a beautiful place to be today.
70 degrees. Let's all go.
I know. Megan Holbrook, Region 2, Salt Lake Summit, and Tooele counties.
I'm Kent Millington. I represent Region 3 from Juab to Daggett County across the center part of the state.
My name's Wayne Barlow. I represent Region 1, which is the 6th northernmost counties of the state from Box Elder down through Davis County, and I live in Cache Valley.
Nagi Zinadi from sunny St. George, 70 degree, representing the rest of the state.
Thank you very much. Shane, why don't we do some introductions with the UDOT people, but first let's recognize that we have a new assistant joining us today. Heather Barthold is the assistant to the commission now. And we notice in the back, Leanna Beglin is back there making faces at us after 20 some odd years as in that position. She just couldn't help but join us today anyway.
First time audience member.
But we certainly want to recognize Heather and her new position assisting us. Shane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Shane Marshall. I'm the Deputy Director here at UDOT. Carlos is not able to attend today. He is up at the Capitol at our Executive Appropriations meeting. There were some questions that the Chair wanted to ask him. So he gets that duty and I get this duty. So I'm happy to be here. Joe, do you want to start?
Joe Walker, Director of Communications.
Brian Adams, UDOT Region 2.
Nathan Lee, UDOT.
Bill Lawrence, UDOT Programming.
Jason Davis, Operations.
Robert Miles, Traffic and Safety.
Randy Clark, Project Development.
Chris Peterson, Region 1.
Brent Swanevelt, Region 3.
Jeff Boiler, Davis County.
Nika Roundy, Davis County.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate that. Any other UDOT? Yeah, we got another. Rick?
Lisa Wilson, Region 2.
Bob Helly, Skip Coordinator.
Rex Harris, Region 1. Rob Clayton, Traffic Management.
Lisa Miller, Traffic Management.
John Gleason, UDOT Communications.
Are there others? Corey tried to stand up. Now, we want to recognize our representatives from the FHWA here. Brigitte and Steve, please introduce yourselves.
Brigitte Mandel, Acting Division Administrator for the UDOT Division here. Just a point, in case anybody leaves early, I put a few handouts on the table regarding the new discretionary freight program, and I'll talk about that later.
I'm Steve Call, Federal Highway Administration. I'm the Program Development Team Leader, but I'm the Acting Assistant Division Administrator.
Welcome to both of you. Do we have any other elected officials here? Well, welcome everybody. We appreciate your attendance. We will move into our public comment section now. We invite the elected officials, if they would like, to address us if they want to at this time, and then anyone else from the public that's here that would like to address the commission. From Davis County, do we have any comments you would like to make at this time? All right. Are there any other participants here in the audience that would like to make a speech to the commission? Please, be sure to introduce yourself and speak loudly. You're being watched by at least 4 people.
My name is Blake Thomas. I'm the city engineer for Harriman City. We have a item on the agenda later for the SIB loan request. I just wanted to get up and introduce myself and the project. Hopefully help Phil out later on. So we have a request for a project that was scheduled to go on in a couple of years, but Harriman's growing fast, so we have to build the project a little earlier. So the loan request will help us with the cash flow to get the project going this summer for some new development of annexation area that just happened last year. So we're happy that the commission is offering this opportunity to partake of this loan, and just wanted to introduce that, and if there's any questions, answer them right now.
Any questions now? We'll certainly discuss this a little later.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. Any other public comments?
Ask Brigitte what happened in New Hampshire.
Wrong time, wrong place.
For sure, I didn't get to vote.
You didn't get to vote this time, huh? All right. Well, it's an interesting time to be around, isn't it? With all the politics going on. Well, seeing that there are no more public comments, let's move to our UDOT scoreboard. I guess, Randy, are you up first?
Alrighty, thank you very much, Commissioners, for the opportunity to talk just for briefly about the construction program. Given that it's February, things are fairly slow in the state of Utah. We are still advertising quite a few projects, but our number of projects that have actually been activated or have reached notice to proceed are fairly small. In this list, you can see 11 projects that have been advertised since the last commission meeting, which was a little bit less than a month from now, since that was on January 12th. And we've advertised projects in regions 2, 3, and 4 since that time. See from our graphs here, our active projects are really low right now. We have 105 projects that are currently active, which obviously you can see there's a big bump there for our summertime activity, and we expect that to jump up considerably from where we're at over the next few months. We currently have about $264 million left to pay out to contractors on the current projects. Our monthly contractor payments for the last month of January, about $11 million, a little over $11 million, $11.7 million, and so that's fairly low given the time of year. But we are catching up, getting all these projects closed out, because you can see our schedules, we're now about 80% or 89% on schedule, which is really good. We'd like to keep that up there all we can, but we're definitely catching up on payments because of the time of year. Any questions?
Are we seeing anything this soon about the oil prices affecting our bids?
Not that we can notice, not right now. We have an adjustment factor with oil that will happen in every contract. And so if prices go up considerably for the projects that are bidding right now, that'll cause us a problem for us. We'll have to find some more money to pay for that, just because we want to be fair. So we actually bid projects today at the current prices.
Does that adjustment only happen once a year? Can it happen when?
It can happen whenever. Whenever it needs to be.
That's good.
Any other questions for Randy?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jason?
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So the Vegas odds have me saying the first stupid thing on the live broadcast. So.
That was an easy one. Sorry.
It's well deserved. It's earned. So this morning will be a very brief conversation on our traffic fatalities for the month of January. So we've got 1 month into the year. As we go down, and I'll just jump right to the graphs because it shows the story. So far through the month of January, we have 14 fatal crashes and 14 fatalities. So it's been one of those months where no multiple fatalities in the crashes that were out there on our roadways, which is the same numbers we had last year. And as you all know, our goal is 0. So we have not met that goal, but we are going to work very hard to be 0 for the rest of the year. As you look at the rate, obviously it's the same as last year, 0.63. Those numbers always lag a little bit just because trying to get VMT totally synced up at the end of the month is.
You go back and adjust them as you go, as you get that data?
The final number at the end of the year will be the one that will be the most accurate. So throughout the year will be the best information we have. One of the things that continues to be shocking to me is we had 5 pedestrian fatals in the month of January, and we had 5 pedestrian fatals last January. So our pedestrians continue to be a source of concern for us as we try to find ways to identify and help lower that number down and keep our pedestrians safe out there on the roadways. I think we had 2 on the interstate, 2 in marked crosswalks, 1 unmarked crosswalk,
2
and so there's no one highlight of how these are happening. And we're going to try something a little different this year. I'm going to assemble a team to review the last 2 years' pedestrian fatalities and see if we can't find something and make the team very broad in their areas of expertise. So we'll invite partners from DPS, we'll invite every region, we'll invite designers, we'll invite safety folks, we'll invite probably some maintenance people, and just try to get this very well diverse group to try to identify ways and ideas of how to lower this number down. So because we have such a full agenda, and I've got 2 of my folks speaking later about their programs, unless there's any other questions, that's pretty much it for this month's presentation.
Jason, we've got a number of innovations in crosswalks, pedestrian crosswalks, where you've got flags to carry or you've got lights, particularly in the urban areas. And I have to assume that these have helped reduce fatalities. Our population is increasing quite rapidly, and so that alone would tend to put pressure upward. Do we have any metric or any data that can give us a handle on how effective these innovative measures have been?
I'm going to look over my shoulder here to Robert.
As far as flags go, we don't have a definitive study on that. There's not one that exists nationally. We are looking at that information. The lighted crosswalks themselves was kind of hard to measure on a single instance. What we are doing is we're studying our system as a whole. We've got a couple of studies that are underway that have been completed in the last couple of years, looking at intersections across the state and identifying characteristics that result in safer or lower crash rates at those intersections. Right now, we're looking at how we can project those onto the rest of the system. That's kind of where I'm at.
Robert will be speaking about our needs and accomplishments in the traffic safety group later. And he's going to talk about a new program called Heads Up that we've kicked off, or will be kicking off here in a week, or a couple weeks. And he'll give some more details about some of the things going on in that arena. Thank you, Mr. Holbert.
Well, excuse my flippant remark about your comments. So, I read an interesting article, and I'm sure a lot of people did here too, by a physician who wrote that the fatalities in the bad air are just 250 a year. We're at like 256. It's almost comparable to what's going on with our fatalities at UDOT. I mean, it's a stretch. But I thought that was a very interesting number.
Yeah, I just came back from Texas, and we talked about the numbers that we have, and I went down there to visit with their safety folks for a day, and had some of our kind of boots on the ground people there for a little bit longer, talking to them. And the numbers they deal with, I think I mentioned this earlier, they've had at least one fatality every day for the last 15 years straight on their roadways. That is just an enormous number. I think we had 176 days last year without a fatality on our roadways. So 170, almost half the year we didn't have a fatality. So, myself and Robert have looked about what goals, what wins we can get. And I'm sure it's kind of everything else, like you said, with the physicians looking at different causes. But it's a little shocking when you go to these other states and start looking at their numbers, and we get upset about our numbers. And I'm not lowering the emphasis on our numbers and our goal for zero, but they're telling me about the number of highway workers that they have involved in fatals every year. And they just had a 26-year-old engineer get involved in a fatal accident on one of the construction sites 2 weeks ago. And so it tends to kind of make you think for the things you have, and the improvements you have, and the opportunities you have to make improvements. But yeah, things. I mean, we have programs here that hopefully help with the air and help with ped safety and help with everything else. So we try to affect the public's health in many different ways.
But they got a lot more roads, a lot more people, a lot more congestion, a lot bigger area. It stands to reason their numbers will be larger. Not to mention the thing that their temperament's different than us wonderful people in Utah.
Jason, do you know
they're more laid back. They don't crowd you on the freeways.
Yeah, they do have very good barbecue.
They really do. Now I know why you went down to Texas. Any other comments or questions for Jason? Thank you very much. Let's proceed on to item 4, Bill. We've got a list of action items that we need to take care of.
Yeah, see if we can run both of these. I'm going to move this down. All right, we'll cover the items under tab 4. First one is 4A-1. These are the funding adjustments that award post-construction. We have 2 of each. The first 2 projects are an award is I-80, mile point 30 to mile point 41.28. There's 1.8 million of NHPP funds that can be returned to the 2016 rehabilitation program. The other one is SR 266, 4700 South, I-215 to I-15, mile point 0 to 2.84. 950,000 of the SDP Flex state funds and go into the 2015 pavement rehabilitation program. The other 2 post-construction is SR 203, 4600 South to SR 79, returning just over 858,000 of equity bonus 48.3 thousand of NHS funds, a total of just over 900,000 of funds. These funds will be removed from the program as these are no longer available. These are the older fund types, and so they're not in the system, not available in the program. The next one is the I-80 mile point 136 to 143 Lambs Canyon to Kimball Junction. Again, there's some IM funds on this and some spot safety funds, a total of just over 1.6 million. The state spot safety funds can be returned to the state spot safety improvement program. The IM funds are not going to be returned as they're unable to be reprogrammed. So I'd like to seek approval to make the funding adjustments as detailed.
So moved. Second. Been moved and seconded that we approve these funding adjustments. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The next item is 4A-2. This is I-215, I-15 Interchange Bridge Rehabilitation Project. Region 1 is requesting approval to add just over 273,000 of bridge funds to this project. The additional funding is needed for some pothole patching overruns, beam end repairs, expansion joint changes that occurred on this project. The funding would come from 140,000 from structures and then the balance from the region contingency funds for a total of $273,575. So there is a map shows the project location. And so I'd like to seek approval to add the $273,575 to the I-215, I-15 Interchange Bridge Rehabilitation Project as detailed.
I so move that we have a lot of potholes coming up in the spring. Do we have enough money and contingency to take care of that?
I'm not changed.
Oh, excuse me.
I know he's not there. It's weird, huh? Trust me, it's weird for me too. Pay attention the whole time. Our potholes in the spring get filled with maintenance forces. Right now we are ahead. We spent more money on our snow than we have in the past.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious. It's been snowier than it's been in 5 years. So we're a little bit, the budget's going to that right now. We're going to have money at the end of the year to fill potholes. This project, it took care of a one bridge deck that had the potholes in that bridge deck, but we'll, just like everywhere, the spring will come, the potholes will show up, and we'll be able to fix them. I think if we had a chart that showed a number of potholes over the last 5 years, it's continually declining and declining because we're so proactive on our pavement maintenance that we just don't get that many potholes any longer. But we do still have some, and we'll have the budget to take care of them.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
I've heard a motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
That doesn't seem like enough money. That's a pretty big project. You're only going to fill one pothole with that much money.
The project happened. It was much larger than this. Chris, what was it, a couple million?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
This
that
is
makes
just,
sense.
yeah, we just
Couple
had some
$100,000.
overruns. Yeah. When we opened the deck, there were more potholes than we expected, and this is just to cover this few that we didn't see beforehand.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that passes.
The next item is 4A-3. This is I-15 SR 240 to I-84 and I-84 SR 102 to I-15. This is a new project. Region 1 is requesting to add this project to the STIP. The project value on this is $6.5 million, and the scope of this project is for a mill and overlay. We have a project location of this. And then also the program that we're recommending that it be funded into. So we'd like to seek approval to add the I-15 SR 240 to I-84 and I-84 SR 102 to I-15 project to the 2016 pavement rehabilitation program as detailed.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this new project. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The next item is 4A-4. This is the I-15 Lagoon to Layton Parkway project. This is a scope and funding adjustment. Region 1 is asking for the additional scope and funding. The additional scope includes a bonded wearing course. This gives it a consistent surface across the whole project. We're just going to have the sides, and the amount for this is 1.5 million. Okay, so I'd like to seek approval for the additional scope and funding to the I-15 Lagoon to Layton Parkway project as detailed.
I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I think this is the third time we've added scope to this project. It started out as a couple of auxiliary lanes in different locations. We added those together, then we added the pavement between them, and now we're adding the final surface scope.
No.
Close.
I got to clarify one little thing. So this is, we have combined several projects into one. So we have some choke point projects that are occurring, as well as some pavement preservation. On the north end, the original projects went to between 200 North and South Layton Parkway, which would leave a small portion. As we got looking into our to what the project limits and the scopes were, it was going to leave a small portion of pavement untouched between the end of this project and the concrete near Hillfield Road. We determined that it's probably not the best thing to do to leave that older piece of pavement in there. We'd have to be in there sooner than later. It would mess up our maintenance strategies and frequencies, and so we want to add this little piece so that we have a consistent pavement all the way from Lagoon to South Layton.
How long is that piece?
That's
7/10 of a mile.
7/10 of a mile.
Okay.
Just a short little piece, and so it wouldn't be the right thing to do to leave it.
So this is the end of what Shane
Yeah.
was talking about.
Yep.
So now, Chris, the whole project will be cost-wise?
The whole, it comes up to 18 and a half.
But just over 20, almost 21 million.
And it entails a lot of different types of projects all combined into one. It becomes much more cost effective from a bidding standpoint to have a large project with all that work occurring in the same spot. They can incorporate all the same traffic flow together, and they can do the work in a unified way instead of hodgepodge. If it's
One at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that passes.
Okay, next item is 4A-5. This is a Region 1 request for 3 new asset management projects. The 3 projects are the US 89 Willard Shoulder Project for $3 million, a clear zone improvement project for Box Elder, Cache, Rich counties in various locations. These would be drainage and slope improvements for $1 million, and then clear zone improvements for Davis, Morgan, and Weber counties in various locations, again, drainage and slope improvements for $2 million. I have a map of the one project, the others, because it's various locations, is not mapped. Again, this is the funding that is made available after they hit their pavement conditions in order to maintain the surface areas for their region, which they have done. And so this is the additional funding from sweeping the corners that allows them to get some of these asset projects that need to get to. And so I'd like to seek approval to add the 3 new asset management projects as detailed.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved and seconded that these 3 projects be added. Is there any further discussion from the commission?
By the time Chris finish all the money, we're gonna have any other 3 regions have money to spend?
I hope not. I thought you swept those corners once before.
We sweep them continually.
Keep finding gold, huh?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Chris, come back up and just give us some more detail on those 3 projects, just to get that on the record of what you're going to do up there. Fairly vague in the.
Sure.
That's
So-
what happens when you try to correct Shane. Next time you better just stay there and just say.
Point taken.
Okay, so the first project on the list is a shoulder project in the Willard area. That is a 5-lane roadway section, but the shoulders are only about 1 to 2 feet wide in that area. It's a heavily traveled roadway, very wide gravel shoulders. There's a lot of folks that want to use that for active transportation and the bike on that. It's a high-speed road. It's 50, 55. There's areas where it's 45 as it goes through a couple of communities. So we've identified that an important safety improvement project for us would be to widen the paved shoulder in that area. We're going to go to, is it 6 feet, Rex? Yeah. About a 6-foot shoulder, which will allow the bikers, excuse me, to be off of that, off of the travel lanes. But the other advantage in that project is that there's a lot of agricultural businesses that occur. They call that the fruitway. If you buy peaches, odds are, Commissioner Barlow will stop on his way home and he'll buy a box of peaches on his way.
He'll slow down on the way home.
Yeah, he'll slow down long enough to smell the peaches. And so it's a continual maintenance issue for us with dirt tracking back up onto the roadway, as well as trying to keep that shoulder maintained and get rid of the edge rut. So this is a really beneficial project. We expect to see a lot of value in that. The other two projects are, one is a shoulder flattening. We'll call it a flattening. We're going to fill in some shoulders up in Rich County. With the first project on there, the $1 million one, we'll go improve the shoulders there. The roadway up there is 2 lanes wide with about a 1 foot, maybe a 1 foot shoulder on that roadway. The paint stripe's usually right on the edge of the pavement, and then there's a steep slope coming off of that all the way between Woodruff and the state line. So this project will go in to flatten some of those and bring fill in, make those a much more gentle slope, so that if you do go off the road and happen to be distracted or slip off the road, however, it much improves your ability to recover or to not roll and survive the crash. And so that's what that project will do. The third one on the list is very improvement on Highway 89. This is the major. I'm just going to give you the major pieces of the different projects since they're various locations. The big piece there is as you call it, the Dugway. You go between Skyline Drive, you go down the hill towards I-84 on Highway 89 there in South Ogden, in the Uinta area. We have an old asphalt curb and some old guardrail there. And what we have often in large storms is the water will wash over the old asphalt curb or through the holes in it, and it erodes the slope down towards the railroad and to the town of Uinta, and that creates the potential of failure for the roadway. And so this project will go in and take out that guardrail and put in a new curb, a better curb, fix the substandard barrier in the area, and improve that slope all the way down the hill. So those are the major portions of those 3 projects. Any other questions?
Any further questions?
I think it's important to note that in all 3 of those cases, we're moving money from the paving program over to these projects. And all 3 of these are safety projects.
Safety projects.
Yeah, Chris is really focusing on safety up there. And we heard from Jason, our numbers are still up there high. And these are the type of projects that are going to push those numbers back down.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Chris, that 89 down Eric Road, that gets a lot of commercial truck traffic too, doesn't it?
Oh, it's very busy. Everyone going up to the university, the hospitals, a lot of folks commute into Ogden and out of Ogden every day on that, and there's a lot of trucks on it as well as they come in. It's kind of the back door towards that southern part of the Ogden, South Ogden area.
It's kind of a port of entry bypass too, isn't it?
I have no comment on that statement.
All in favor of these projects?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, and thank you for that explanation.
Let me know if I need to come back up.
Don't go far.
Yeah, next one.
All right, next tab is 4A-6. This is again in Region 1. Excuse me.
I'm ready. That's the reason I called you.
Region 1 is requesting approval to add the following transportation alternative projects. There are several there. You got the Randolph Sidewalk Structures, Plain City 2600 North project, the Wolf Creek to Eden Trail project, Layton SR 193 project, SR 38 to Cemetery project, Logan City Connector Trail, and Brigham City 200 South project. Kind of go to the table. What's unique about these projects is we have the federal dollars that come as TAP. We take the TAP funds, we put them into the pavement program, and we take the state dollars out of the pavement program, because we're good at using the federal, take the state dollars and let the regions use these to do these type of projects. That used to be formerly the enhancement program. Being their state dollars, they're more desirable for locals. And you can see as the request, you can see the amount of TAP funds that we put in here that are state dollars now was 500,000. You can see the local contribution to these. So it grew to 1.2. Let me see, I missed the total. Yeah, 1.2. So it's a good thing. The locals like it. Regions like to have the state dollars to match with these local projects, and it's we get a lot done with that. So we'd like to seek approval to add these 7 transportation alternative projects to the STIP as detailed.
Move for approval.
Second. Been moved and seconded for these projects to be added. Is there any further discussion or questions?
I think that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Do
let's
they
get
have
Rick
to
back.
match the local entities? They have to match, or they can just take the money without matching it?
There's a, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. They don't have to match, but when we solicit, so we solicited, we sent out letters to every community in the region, and we asked them if anyone had projects that they would like to consider us to apply this funding to. We gave them some criteria. It was a loose criteria. Told them we would consider match as a level of commitment from the cities and how important it was to them. We also considered whether or not there was a benefit to the state system, since this is the TAP funds type, came through the department, so if there's a benefit of that and several other factors. And so we didn't require a match from them, but a match played a role in our selection of who or which projects were selected. So
Thank you.
and what you'll see is that some of the matches are quite significant. Yield us more than double, if you want to call that more than double our money, and achieve twice the projects that we could have achieved had we done it on our own. This is a great program that local communities, from our interaction with them, really appreciate it. But
Well, they probably appreciate it too, because it gets them to get more projects done for their dollars.
that's right. And so couple the fact that it's converted to state dollars, so it gives them the ability to bid it through their processes instead of going through the department and the federal process. That makes it a little quicker for them, because it's a rough project they're familiar. They still have to bid it, follow all the state laws. They can't do anything willy-nilly and crazy with it. The other piece that I want to bring up is the applications that we received was more than double the ones that we were able to fund. So there's still certainly more needs out there and more requests from the communities. And here in a short time, we won't wait another year. Here in a short time, we will re-solicit for additional projects. Because of the FAST Act, we have a more consistent funding stream that we can now anticipate for the next several years. So we'll go ahead and advertise to the cities further opportunities, and we'll select them, and that'll give us a little bit more time to work on each project, make sure that they're refined when they go out to bid, and make it a little more streamlined. So you should see that soon.
Who checks out or signs off on the project? Final UDOT or the combined?
UDOT does. So we assign a project manager, one of our project managers that's familiar with what the project is, what it's supposed to be, and what the requirements are with funding transfers. We sign a cooperative agreement with them, and when the cities have met that, then we'll transfer the funds to them.
Thank you.
So Chris, this does not modify the construction standards? I mean, if you get
yes,
more for your money,
they still have to meet the APWA standards and the standards some minimum standards that we place upon them from a UDOT standpoint. But we don't have all of the federal standards in it. For instance, the Buy America and the wage rate requirements that would be in a federal project.
But they're not inferior project construction?
No.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Well, just one interesting piece on that too is these TAP funds that came were from MAP 21. MAP 21 allowed us to convert the TAP to STP. That's why we were able to put into the pavement. And then, so what has happened now with FAST Act is instead of coming as a TAP single program, now they're coming as an STP block, and so they're already the STP base. So it'll make it a little bit easier for us.
Make it easier to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is 4A-7. This is SR 154, 4700 South and 5400 South, and SR 173 Flex Lanes project. This is a funding addition. Region 2 is requesting approval to add just over $5 million of state TIP funds to this project. The additional costs are to cover litigation that we recently lost regarding the closing of an access point on Bangor Highway into the former Kmart shopping center there at 5400 South. The funding for this we can get from $4.65 million from the I-80 State Street, the 1300 East project, and $400,000 from the I-15 SR-73 to 123 South widening project. These funds on both of these projects were retained as a contingency for right-of-way mitigation. As they get further along down the road, the risk of that mitigation diminishes, and so we feel comfortable that we can remove these funds and put them onto this project. Project location map. And so we'd like to seek approval to add just over $5 million to the SR 154, 4700 South and 5400 South, and SR 73 Flex Lanes project as detailed.
Question, on the litigation regarding closing an access point, I assume that was one of several points, not a sole access point.
They had several access points around, but this was a slip ramp that went off, southbound Bangor, up into the Kmart shopping center, and then southbound back onto Bangor. It was that one particular slip ramp.
Thank you.
And that's going away?
It's gone.
It's gone away.
It's gone away.
Yeah. That was crazy. Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that this project be approved. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that's been approved.
The next item is 4A-8. This is SR 143 mile point 9.4 to 10.2. It's an upgrade barrier project. Region 4 is requesting scope and funding addition to this project. This was original spot safety improvement project. The scope of work included upgrading the concrete barrier in this location. During the preliminary design, they could see that the existing barrier was being undercut by Parowan Creek. So in order to fix that, the region is looking to construct a retaining wall with tiebacks. This will also allow the new concrete barrier to be placed further back from the roadway, make it a little bit safer as well. The proposed additional funding is $600,000 of STP funds from the unprogrammed balance in their pavement rehabilitation program. The new project value would be $900,000. We have a project location map. See, it's up the canyon there, just out of Parowan. And we have some good images here of the issue that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
So replacing these and not fixing the issue, you would still have the issue of these barriers sliding off eventually into that area. So we'd like to seek approval to add the scope and funding addition to the SR 143 mile point 9.4 to 10.2 upgrade barrier project as detailed.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? If not, we'll show the pictures again.
We have to?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, is that a project that will be done this construction season?
Yeah, we're planning on doing it this summer.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
Our maintenance folks get fairly creative on how to hold slopes back on occasion. There's a run of barrier that's holding that slope back.
Yeah.
So Rick, you have to wait till the high water's down. You don't try to fix that with the runoff.
Yeah.
You do?
It'll probably be, yeah, we'll usually do it with low water, try to
Low
slow
water,
it down,
low water.
right, high water line.
Okay, next item is under tab 4A-9. This is a Wasatch Front Regional Council request. They're requesting approval to close this project out and return the funding back to WFRC. This was a Sandy Canal Hawk signal project that Sandy City went ahead and built and funded with their own funds. So this is just to return those dollars back and they'll reprogram those. So I'd like to seek approval to remove the Sandy Canal Trailhawk signal projects from the 2016-2020 step.
I so move and thank them for returning the money.
Me too, second. Honey up the money. Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Next item is 4A-10. This is Dixie MPO. And this is the I-15 milepost 11 interchange project. The Dixie MPO is requesting the following actions be approved. First, to add a new project at this location and program just over 1.1 million of SDP smaller than Dixie funds. Local match would be covered by Washington City, and this would be for STIP year 2019. The total project value is 3.1 million. The scope of the project includes the pre-construction activities. Construction of the project is anticipated to occur when additional funding is determined and secured, which has not been done yet. Also transfer the STP year 2017 funds from the Green Springs Interchange Improvements project to this project, and then cancel the Green Springs Interchange Improvements Washington project. So three actions here. First is approval to add the I-15 milepost 11 interchange project to the 2016-2020 STIP. Number two is approve transferring 1.93 million, just over 1.93 million of SDP smaller than Dixie MPO funds from the Green Springs Interchange Improvements project, and then cancel the Green Springs Interchange Improvement project.
Mr. Chair, can I add one thing to that bullet? On the fact sheet, there is that sub-bullet where it says the scope of this project includes pre-construction activities. Rick, I'm assuming that includes NEPA as well?
Yeah, that's the main part of it.
So that second sentence, construction of the project is anticipated, probably should say the construction of the project is anticipated once the NEPA decision has been reached. And then funding is secured, just to be clear, that they're not moving forward with the project until the NEPA is cleared and complete.
Okay.
So the motion will reflect that.
The motion will reflect this this addition that Shane has mentioned about the NEPA approval
being completed
first.
Yep.
Do I hear a motion for that?
I make a motion to change the language as Shane requested.
Okay. Second. Moved and seconded with the adjustment that has been noted. Any further discussion?
When do you think the NEPA decision will come through?
They want to start right away, and we go through the whole NEPA process. So depending on whether it'll be an EA or EIS, will kind of determine the time frame.
A year, 2 years?
Probably two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
You don't plop an interchange down in the middle of.
No.
You don't.
Some work beforehand.
Some work before,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
All right.
The transportation summit in Dixie Center the other day, they had these maps on the wall. A lot of people were looking at this one, weren't they, Nagi?
Yes.
A lot of comment.
I'm sure that they were concerned about that.
Yeah, I imagine we'll get some feedback there. There's a lot of people, 300-400 people.
Okay.
walking
And what were their concerns?
through there. Well, I didn't stand to listen to them, but there's all kinds of stuff. There were those that supported it, and just like that other hearings.
Well, actually, this is going to alleviate 25% of the congestion by the Green Spring, existing Green Spring.
Oh, okay.
The reason they like it is it'll make this more functional interchange, because that jams up there so bad. It's just almost, it's like being in downtown New York City. Everybody's there, nobody goes anywhere.
I have no more questions.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. With the amended language, that's been approved.
Okay, next item is 4A-11. This is the I-15 northbound 106 South Interchange Improvement Project. Region 2 is requesting an additional $5.5 million in funding for this project. During the preliminary design, there were several items that increased the cost, but the main issues were as listed in the bullets there. The first of all is groundwater elevations were a lot higher than what they anticipated. They required the movement of a box, as well as increase the drainage facilities to keep the water away from the roadway. The maintenance of traffic was more complex than anticipated, and the construction phasing as well. This increased the cost. And then also additional right-of-way. The concept didn't anticipate all the needed right-of-way that was going to be required for the final design. So the recommended funding for this request is from the I-15 southbound 123rd South to SR 201 project. There's 10.67 million currently funded in year 2017 for this project. It is anticipated that the funding used from this request would be replaced when funding from the I-15 SR 73 to 123rd South widening project gets closer to construction complete. And again, that risk is mitigated from the contingency that's in that project. We'll be able to backfill into the project we're taking this from. You have a project location map there, shows it. And so we'd like to seek approval to add the funding to the I-15 northbound 106 South interchange and improvement project as detailed.
Question?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Bill,
a better one.
that's a better map right there.
I assume that the additional right-of-way need devolved from the unanticipated high groundwater. You had to get more space to deal with the project.
Ryan, please.
Yeah. So just to orient you on this, on the map, so the original project was to take the northbound off-ramp and go right underneath 106 South, and there'll be a tunnel there which will drop out and tie into Monroe, which is what you see in the gray and pink. So the original plan was just that. It's kind of a simple project where we made those two connections. And so what's happened now is that in the location where we have the bridge, we found that there's some groundwater issues that we've got to mitigate. So that's only one of the causes for the additional cost. But the biggest reason, if you can see where we've kind of highlighted in green, the original concept again was just a kind of a direct connection between the two, and because of working with federal highways, working with the city, working with all of the businesses there to come up with a solution of how that's all going to work, the concept expanded and got quite a bit more complicated than what was originally anticipated. And so in doing so, what you see there in green, we are actually having to buy a lot more right-of-way than what was originally anticipated. That's expensive right-of-way in that area. We've also are going to be adding a detention pond in the area that, again, we're going to need some right-of-way for. So between the combination of the cost to mitigate for the groundwater, for the structure, and the additional right-of-way needed for this solution is what's caused the need for additional money. The discrepancy is not just the $5.5 million. The discrepancy was $8 million. We've agreed with the city that the department would burden $5.5 million, and then the city would come up with an additional $2.5.
Okay.
Thank you.
How far does that connection go into Monroe? Does Monroe already go there to the north?
No, this is one of the complexities of the project, is that we have to connect to a city street. We can't just dump into the mall parking lot. So working with the city is actually going to extend Monroe Street from the north back into where you see kind of the yellow line that indicates UDOT in the city.
Right.
So that's where the city will extend Monroe Street to that point. And then we will connect in at that location.
So you can see where it
Right.
says.
So that's the city's contribution then, that 2.5 million is to extend that
No, they're doing that on their own dime, above and beyond.
above and beyond the 2.5 that would go from the UDOT going southward, including the underpass.
Correct. A lot of their, their 2.5 million would be, you can see the long green stretch that's, let's see, it'd be to the southwest.
Right.
That's a private drive, private street for the mall. We didn't feel that that UDOT should burden the cost of that. So they're gonna acquire the right of way and the cost to construct that lake.
All right.
Brian, Monroe Street ends just south of 100 South right now, right? So the city's building from 100 South all the way to this point.
That's correct.
Is
So
the
3/4 of a
property,
mile then, that they will extend Monroe, something like that?
Yes.
are these property owners cooperating with this, or do we have to take the property?
They are cooperating at this point in time. We had some issues early on and through the environmental process, but right now they're cooperating.
Any further questions or discussion on this item?
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay tuned on that. I'll call for a motion.
Move to approve as described.
Second on the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this expanded project. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, it's been approved. Thank you very much, Brian, for that additional discussion.
Okay, next item is 4B-1. This is a state infrastructure bank loan request. The request is coming from Harriman City. This was a moving piece a little bit as we've been putting this together. So I need to clarify just a few things on here. The first thing is, we'll get to the amount. The SIB amount that's requested is 1.7 million. I handed out an amortization chart for Harriman City. Interest rate we received yesterday from the state treasurer's office was the initial 0.83% for the bonding rate, and then we added that what the length of term is, depending that length of term. So we added 0.75% to that 0.83% to get their interest rate. On this initially, it was going to be that they were going to build this with the SIB loan in anticipation of receiving some federal funds in the future to have it replaced. Harriman City has decided now to not seek those set federal funds, but go ahead and just finance this on their own. And so the request is only for the 1.7 million SIB that Harriman City would be paying back. And
according to this amortization schedule that you've given us.
And then also the city will be required to meet all the legal requirements that they need to in order to get this loan as well.
Does the gentleman from Harriman City want to say anything about it?
Any more?
I'll answer any questions if there are any.
How soon are you going to start the project then?
Okay.
So we actually bid the project out, and we are working with the sewer district because there's a large part of this with sewer, and it should kick off in about a month with the construction.
And the completion projection?
We're looking at October 1st.
So you want it now instead of having to wait for that other approval to go through. I understand.
Yep.
Smart.
Yep, and this is a major arterial for future plans to tie into U-111 whenever Kennecott decides to come in with their land in the future.
And good for your town. That's good for you guys. That's great.
So the main problem is the sewer? Is that what I heard you?
Their bids lagged 2 weeks behind ours, so they just opened, or their bids finalized earlier this week. So we're working on a notice of award. We're seeing if we could get the same contractor if it worked out that way, or just comparing everything together. So actually the contractor was the same on both bids. So,
oh, well, that's
it'll work out great.
Yeah, that'll work out good. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all?
Mr. Chair, can I ask one?
Sure.
Bill, as the motion, when you ask for the motion, because the fact sheet references the federal dollars,
Yeah.
do we need to, in the motion, say how this fund is going to be repaid?
I will try to do that, see if I
Okay.
get it. Good.
Okay.
So the motion is that Harriman City would like to request an SIB loan for $1.7 million that they will repay back with their own funding.
According to the amortization schedule.
Yes.
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded that this be approved, the loan for $1.7 million to be paid back by Harriman City according to this schedule. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Go spend the money.
On this sheet here that's up on the screen, this is just a summary of where we're at right now with our infrastructure bank, how much was capitalized, what additional funding has come in because of interest and payments back. So currently we have just over 7.5 million available to loan out. We just did 1.7 of it. So we have another request coming up from St. George City. That'll be the next one.
Bill, I had a question on the last entry here on this particular chart. It says the completed loans, and there are 3 of them listed there. Does that mean they were completed and paid back?
Correct.
So they are
Finished loans, yep.
Okay.
The other ones are still in process of paying
Right.
back.
Okay,
So
thank you.
after this commission meeting, if both of these are approved, you'll see them listed in that next line of active loans.
Right.
And it'll come off the total that's available. So next one is 4B-2. St. George City is requesting an SIB loan. This would be the city's portion for the I-15 mile point 8 to 10 auxiliary lanes and Mall Drive underpass project. This project consists of adding an additional south and northbound lanes on Interstate 15 between the interchange at St. George Boulevard and interchange 10 at Washington Green Springs Drive, including an underpass structure located approximately at the St. George Mall area. The underpass structure does not include access to I-15. So local roadways, Red Hills Parkway and Red Cliff Drive would be modified to accommodate the new intersections at the underpass location. The loan amount would be $3.198 million. It's currently funded at $24 million, including the local portion. So this just allows them to get their funding up front. This is a project location map. I've handed out a amortization schedule for St. George City. Their interest rate was just a little bit different because their term was 3 years rather than the 5.
So the 25 basis points is the difference in the maturity?
Yes. So I'd like to seek approval to for the SIB loan request for St. George City. Again, they also will meet all legal requirements as far as the city is required to obtain this loan.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this request from St. George City. Is there any further discussion?
A lot of underpasses going on in St. George, in the red sand.
It's gotta happen. This is a very important part of that.
We may remember that we saw this when we had our meeting in Hurricane in the fall. We actually stopped right there and took a look at that. We were in the parking lot there of the mall.
Yeah.
And that was described right then.
So
So
this is what, maybe a half a mile from the one we talked about a few minutes ago.
I'm gonna vote for it. But, I mean, we don't have any problems with the soil.
Oh, there's not soil there, it's sand.
Well, that's what I mean.
You
Thank you. That's what I mean, so we're doing all these underpasses. Do we have to do some special shoring up with the sand?
I think we're just still preliminary in the design for this. I'm not sure.
Well, actually, we're real close to advertising this job in the middle of March, so we've done all our soil testing and drilling and all that stuff, and feel confident that we move forward with this project with our studies.
And there's no water to worry about the water.
Yeah, there's no water in St. George. So.
Yeah, the water.
If we did hit water, then it'd really be a good thing, actually, in a way that, okay, I'll vote for it.
Now, that underpass from the north side of the freeway there will actually be a downward slope towards towards, what is it called, Red Cliffs Road or whatever it is? Will that actually slope downward because?
No, actually, there'll be slight elevation difference, but not very much.
Not much,
We'll
okay.
actually lower those two roads on the north side there. As you see them swing out.
Right.
They'll actually lower that.
They'll
slightly.
lower that down so you won't have a fairly steep slope in that short underpass, okay.
Because the grade on this mall side, on the Red Cliffs Mall side, is down substantially from the interstate.
Right, right.
And the other side is slightly up, so it will come, that north side will come down just slightly.
All right, thank you.
And there's not a pedestrian walkway
There
with this?
will be.
There will
pedestrian
be? Did I
underneath
miss
there
that?
as
I
well.
missed that then, so.
Yeah, as part of the design, there is sidewalks and everything underneath this underpass.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that's been approved. Thank you. All right, Lyle? You here, gonna talk to us about an administrative rule review. This is for our information, I understand, rather than for action, is that correct?
That is correct. So one of the things that some people find interesting about UDOT is that as a result of a law that was passed in 1965 called the Highway Beautification Act, all state highway transportation departments are responsible for regulating billboards that can be seen from any federal participating route.
Was that by Lady Bird Johnson?
That is exactly what
Exactly right.
Well, that should scare you. I mean, that I remember that. Not Mrs. Johnson.
Well, I'm too young to remember that far back.
I'm afraid we all remember that one.
Please proceed.
So since 1965, one of the enforcement mechanisms to induce each state to exercise what they call effective control, 10% of our federal aid apportionment is tied towards our being controlling effectively billboards through the act. And so one of the things that we've done recently is we updated the rule that we use to regulate the outdoor advertising industry. And it had been almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years next month if we had waited. So it was time. Most of what we did was update the rule to current practice and current technology. For example, the rule wasn't very well, it didn't flow very well, so we reorganized it, added a few sections so that as you read the rule, it makes more sense to somebody that there's a logical progression. Additionally, for decades and decades, and initially what we required billboards to do was purchase a plate, a permit plate, like a little mini license plate that they would affix to the billboard. And then there were all kinds of penalties if it fell off or was painted over or whatever, and that was what we used to identify these signs. Now we can just go out and shoot it with a GPS gun, and so we've eliminated this archaic license plate requirement, and now we just use GPS coordinates to identify the signs. We also one of the other key points is that from time to time we have billboard companies that take shortcuts by going from inside the right-of-way to maintain or erect their signs, and so we put in some language that is intended to discourage that practice. It's very unsafe, it's illegal, and so we have a 3-step process where if we have 3 documented instances, then they lose their billboard. The other thing that we did was we did a lot of just consolidation in terms of clarifying and making consistent terms and terminology. There's several references to primary highway, primary system, and we just turned everything into a controlled route. If it's on a controlled route, then the rule applies to you as a billboard company or as a billboard owner. And then we also, one of the other things we did to update to today's standard is we included in the rule that email notification constitutes official valid notification as opposed to the old-fashioned way of sending a letter. And then we had lots of formatting.
You can do both or one or the other,
Yes.
or just, okay.
But sending an email and making sure it's verified constitutes legal notification now.
So the billboard industry worked with you on this, and they like it the way you got it?
What was in this rule is most of what was we were in alignment with. There were several other issues that that didn't make it into the rule.
How does this impact, there's a scenic byways bill currently in the legislature. Does this have any impact on it?
Well, yes. Those billboards so the scenic byway bill has the potential to increase the number of billboards in a scenic byway.
Right.
Those billboards would need to be legally permitted and follow the process as outlined in the rule to be a legal billboard on a scenic byway. So yes, they apply just in terms of how it works to obtain a permit to have a billboard in that area.
And this says the first application received will have priority over any other.
Yeah, it's a very competitive industry, and so from time to time, a billboard can't be within 500 feet of another billboard. So if you have two property owners and they both have, and two separate companies get signed leases on that, then we've had challenges before with people saying you need to do mine, not theirs, and so basically we just changed it so that it's crystal clear. The first application received is we're going to process them in the order they were received.
First to file.
Yes.
Just like the past.
Is this going to be in concert with the city ordinances and the county ordinance? Because don't they have some governance over what happens in their area with this signage?
Yes, they have planning and zoning authorities. So there are several cities that have billboard moratoriums where they've capped the number of billboards at what is currently in existence, and so you can't get a new billboard, which serves to control the supply of billboards, making them very valuable for the few that are in a distinct community. So before, one of the processes in this rule is that we won't accept it as a valid application unless or until they've gone through the city process to get a permit from them and a building permit. Then they bring it to us and say, okay, I've got approval from the city and I've got a building permit from the city. Now I'd like a permit from UDOT so that I can legally have this thing visible from the main traveled way.
Well, I'm thinking of I-15 south of Beaver and north of Ealing, and boy, they're right just 55 feet apart, a lot of them. Did we approve of that, or is that something's been done with the city authority?
It may be, so signs are not allowed to be within 500 feet of each other.
50 yards or 100 yards, but I mean, there's just one right after another for a mile.
So what you see then is that every 500 feet you have a billboard, and so that's legal.
You have to slow it down so you can read them all.
That's their hope.
Yeah, distracted driving.
They're contributing to safety.
Yeah.
So these rules have to do with the location of the billboard, permitting it, getting there, access to it, where we don't get a problem with right-of-way trespass, but not the billboard content.
No, those are all protected under the First Amendment. But just as informational purposes, most of the billboard companies recognize that there is a Utah standard, and from time to time when an advertiser pushes that envelope, people will complain to us and we'll relay that to them, and then they make a decision as to whether or not they're going to leave the message up. But you'll see sometimes it's actually newsworthy and you'll see them remove the message. But it's not anything that we just regulate the sign, not the content.
Not the message. So this is in effect now?
That's correct. It went into effect on December 15th.
Okay, so if the scenic byways bill does pass, then they have to abide by this rule with us.
That's correct.
Any other questions for Lyle?
Lyle, you also regulate the size, the dimensions, the height,
Yes.
style?
We regulate the maximum size that it can be, the number of messages that can be on a single face. One of the other things that that I didn't mention that I'll mention now is that in 1968, when we entered into what we call the state-federal agreement, it was not contemplated in 1968, the year I was born, that you would be able to put a TV, a massive TV, on a stick. And so, start to get stuff from AARP.
I've never seen him speak this before.
He's just a baby.
Thank you. My favorite commissioner.
So the new regulations includes the TV messages and.
Yes, and so we put into a rule that you have to change the message within 2 seconds, and you can only leave, and the message has to be visible for at least 8 seconds before you can change it again.
And the number of the messages and the one billboard?
Just you can, if you
Every
do the
8
math,
seconds.
you can do about 6 per minute.
Are there questions or curiosities here about this rule?
Probably a good way to put that.
Probably an improvement, isn't it? Better.
Well, a good update. Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Lyle, when I grow up, I want a hairdo like yours. I want you to know that. I don't think I'll ever make it. Oh, I like that.
Well, we've got a couple of reports that we're going to receive now. Yeah, from traffic management and then traffic and safety in preparation for our April workshop. This follows the pattern we've had for the last 2 or 3 months in receiving various reports back so that we're prepared for our workshop and the funding allocations. So please, we're glad you're here. Look forward to the report.
Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. My name is Rob Clayton. I'm the Director of Traffic Management for the department. And I'm going to describe some of our accomplishments and some needs that we have in our division. So, so the department's roadmap does a good job of laying out the vision that we've got for our transportation network. And the mission talks about innovation and strengthening the economy. And the traffic management division is right in the midst of that, with using technology and collaborating to help the system operate better and to strengthen the economy and enhance quality of life and the things that you find on that roadmap. I'm going to be talking, I'm going to share several examples of that with you this morning. So one, the Flex Lanes project, you're all familiar with that. We operate and maintain that system in collaboration with Region 2. This last year we just completed an upgrade to that project. You'll know that you remember that when it was first opened up, we had a display to the drivers that looked like you see in this picture. We got a lot of feedback and that we were doing a very good job of getting messages to people because at times it was overwhelming. So we looked at that, looked at some of the messages, worked with FHWA, and got approval to modify that corridor as you see in the bottom. So now that is with 150 of those electronic signs that never change, the red X's and the green arrows removed, and replaced in some instances with static signs. So the display is much different to the drivers. It's more clear, and it's been very well received by all the feedback that I've gotten. I know Joe Walker talked about this last time, so I won't spend too much time. But the new ability to track snowplows on our webpage and on the mobile app has been a big help for us in the traveler information side of things. The message to citizens that we're out working and we're out clearing the roads is a strong one. And when they can see our activity,
It helps answer questions. I took this screenshot during one of the big storms, and it's overwhelming to see all that activity out working. Our field crews work really hard, and it's great to get that message out. But beyond that, it's if you look at this screenshot, so let's say this was also during a storm, and let's say you're in Salt Lake City and you want to go to Heber City, and it's not very good weather, but you have to make the trip. If you looked at the app at this time, you would see that both Parley's Canyon and US 40 have been plowed in the last 30 minutes. Useful information that you could use to make an informed decision to help with your travel. So we really like that. We really like that new reporting capability. My division does a lot of support for other projects. We spend a lot of time and effort supporting projects around the state. I-15 Davis County, just as an example, we did the acceptance testing for the express lane system, helping the contractor get that all up and operational and working correctly. The I-15 Point project, for those of you that drive the corridor southbound, you might recall the VMS messages in the South Valley that told you that the delay at 4 p.m. was X, and the delay now that you're experiencing is Y. So in this example, it was 5 minutes at 4 p.m., and when you drove under that VMS sign, it was telling you that it's 13 minutes now. And I saw that difference get up to as great as 21 versus 4 or 5 minutes. So for those people that had the ability to change their schedule, where it was optional, what the time that they drove, they could make a better decision about what kind of experience they wanted to have. In general, it's if you've got the option, it's better not to be in the midst of the PM peak hour. We also conducted the I-15 Managed Motorway Study, which looked at you might recall in the past, I described to you a project that began in Australia to look at ramp metering and how ramp metering might improve traffic operations on the freeway. We completed that study. The results are encouraging and positive, and we're in the process right now of developing a concept report that you'll be hearing more about, I'm sure. Other projects include all the development down in the Thanksgiving Point area on I-15, a tremendous amount of growth, and my team has done a lot of traffic modeling work, supporting discussions in that area, helping to figure out what configurations would work best and what projects should be pursued in the order of those projects. And then projects all over the state down in Region 4, Sunset Boulevard and Bluff Street, looking at options for improving that intersection. I mean, all in all, we totaled support for 72 projects in all 4 regions. We really enjoy that part of what we do. Switch gears a little bit here. Our business at the TOC is heavily dependent on information. In order for us to be effective, we need information. The map shows the agencies that we had electronic or automated connection with as far as dispatch and the incidents that were occurring. So if it was an incident that happened in a remote area, we had to reach out to those folks if we knew about it and try to collect information. It was awkward and inefficient and frustrating for a lot of people, and that wasn't an ideal situation. But luckily, thankfully, working with UHP, they had some new software available and helped us gain access to dispatch through their system, where we now have coverage statewide. This isn't every agency in the state, but the minute we turned this on, we saw the number of incidents that we were aware of jump by 20 to 30%, which is a big deal because a lot of these are in rural areas, and we know that incidents that happen in rural areas have a big impact tend to have a big impact on travel because of the proximity of responding vehicles and such. So this has been a great help to us in managing traffic. So I'd like to highlight some recent accomplishments and examples of collaboration by talking about this storm that happened on December 14th. And you know, a lot's happened since December 14th, but this was a big storm. I'm pretty sure you'll remember it. I've got some video to show you. But it was large and extremely impactful. Our weather group prepares this briefing document for our maintenance sheds and our partners at UHP and anybody who wants the information. You can see they colored the portions of the state red that would be impacted by the storm, which is essentially the whole state. It was going to be a huge impact. It was actually going to hit in 2 waves. This was a big deal. And so they started messaging for this storm several days in advance, coordinating with maintenance sheds. We used social media. There's an example tweet at the bottom there where we're getting the word out to folks. The media was talking about it. There's a lot of information that was going out to the public, but just a very large storm. We actually started, the storm was to hit on December 14th, which was a Monday. We started messaging on Sunday using the VMS boards, telling drivers when they could expect the main part of the storm to hit. The storm came from the east, so the message boards to the east noted times Sunday night, and then here along the Wasatch Front, it hit in earnest right in time for the AM commute. So the storm hit hard the next day. There was 20 inches of snow in Bountiful, 11 inches in Draper. I believe John Gleason was stuck in traffic for 2 hours on 106 South. I heard some just horrific stories of traffic. It was a huge impact. But that wasn't the end. There was another storm planned in the afternoon, which we messaged for on the BMS signs.
Whiteout, huh? Big storm.
Yeah, it got really bad at one point. Yeah. So that day, John Gleason spent most of the day warning people about the afternoon commute while they were suffering the morning commute, and just you know, it was a pretty dire situation. We had messages going out on social media, and of course on the VMS boards. We just needed to get the word out there that this impact was going to be big. Here's another way of looking at this storm. This is a new tool that we've developed. Our web application and app shows the congestion layer, and we can now look at this in a time lapse. So you see, as the morning progresses, we're in the 8 o'clock hour now. We're right in the midst of it. There's crashes across the valley, and it was especially bad on the east side. The impacts were broad and heavy. Salt Lake County alone experienced 100 crashes. There was another 50 in Utah County and Davis County at 26. So almost 200 crashes in those 3 counties together. Not sure what's going on.
There it goes.
Shane must have touched something.
You need to upgrade your computer, I guess.
He's the only guy that can do that. I have to rag on him a little bit.
I do keep a little more.
Yeah. It's a good thing he didn't have a gun, I can tell you that.
If you were here here before, you would have. We don't.
Don't let him
say
watch
that.
the video later, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for a good time.
If only we had some technology people here to help out. Hey Nick, you want to see if you can get this fixed? Sure. Okay, Nick's going to see if he can get this back up and running. We also have developed a new performance measure to look at freeway operations during storms. We call it the Storm Intensity Index. And what this does, this is a brand new measure, unique in the country, that takes into account all of the factors that are affecting the road during a storm. All of the things all of the problems that are facing a plow driver, such as snowfall rate, road temperature, wind speed and direction, and it summarizes that on a graph for us. And what this allows is for our maintenance crews to have information in real time during the storm of what's happening. Very valuable, because then we can look at resources, where resources are needed most, and then look at sharing those resources across boundaries. So that this is a good development, and something that should benefit not only with snow removal, but also help us in the TOC to make better decisions and to form better messages for the public. Should we back up?
I was thinking about it.
Are you just trying to make the screen big?
No, PowerPoint shut down.
You say this new technology or new reporting is unique in the country?
It is, yeah. There are other systems that use automated information based on radar and things. Our system uses the RWIS stations, the Road Weather Information System stations. We've got about 100 of them around the state. Those stations are gathering information from the actual roadway, and so the information is more reliable. And it's higher.
That's interesting.
Higher level of accuracy.
You know, I'd like to commend the meteorologists and the traffic people. Remember when Jason Davis said months ago, this would be the Godzilla of snow and winter, and we've had a winter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're certainly getting our share of snow this winter. It's all right.
Oh, it happened.
Should we just wait a second?
Just on their iPad. Just keep going.
Oh, you've got it. Okay. Okay. Let's go to. Okay. So if you go to the sheet that has the two graphs on it, the red and the blue lines, the graphs. So this is the interesting part of this storm. I've talked about several examples of messaging, and if you see the magnitude of the blue line shows what normally would happen on a normal Monday, and then the red line shows what happened on that day. And there's a couple of interesting things to note about that. The first is the peaks of the AM and PM peak hours are roughly 30% less than you would see on a normal day, which is good. You know, folks got the message. Those that could change their plans. The other thing that's interesting is the peak that happened on that Monday started about an hour sooner than it normally would. Again, people got the message and were able to adjust their schedules to avoid the delays that were happening. So kudos to John Gleason and the PI team. That I don't know how many interviews John did that day. It was probably 20 or 30, but it really worked. Really worked well. If you flip over to the freeway performance measurement reliability, this is a new performance measure that we've developed, and the department's going to start using to evaluate the performance of the freeways. And this is exciting because for the first time we're going to be considering the impact of how reliable the roadway is. And the way this works is we compare the average speed on a roadway segment with how much variability there is in the travel time. And what we can then do with that information is evaluate the type of congestion that's happening on segments of roads. So if you have a segment that is reliably slow, so that means that it is slow and it's consistently slow. That's probably related to a congestion issue, or a capacity issue, sorry. So the mitigation there could be a capacity enhancement project. If you have a segment that is, say it's the average speed is fast, but it's unreliably fast. These are the segments where you get caught in these and you're late for appointments because you normally travel at a certain speed, and when you did it for this particular trip, it wasn't the speed that you expected. This is something that's very frustrating and very impactful. When that happens, that's due to crashes, incidents, weather, things that don't happen recurring. Understanding the difference there is important so that we can pick the right mitigations. Flip over to the Governor's Success Framework. This is another performance measure that we developed. This is part of the Governor's efficiency initiative. And we've got a mobility measure that we developed for that. This considers the average speed that is occurring along a segment, and also the number of people that are using the roadway. So average speed is higher, that's good. The number of people using the roadway, the throughput, if you will, on that roadway segment increases, that's also good. You notice in the graph, the chart dips there to the right. That's related to I-15 construction. The good news on the very edge of that graph, where it starts to curve back up, that's when the I-15, the Point project, reopened the southbound lane through the Bangor interchange. Talking about traffic signal operations next. The slide with the map. We had a unique opportunity recently. UDOT's been working on signal performance metrics for a number of years, and I've described some of those to you in previous meetings. We're getting data back from our traffic signals in real time and using that data to make decisions. It's somewhat unique in the country, but the idea is starting to catch on. Just in January, we hosted a workshop here in Utah where folks came from across the country from the areas shown on that map. 169 attendees from 85 different organizations in 29 states. It was really overwhelming to see that group assembled there to talk about signal performance metrics. And it was an extremely productive discussion. And I'm really excited about the direction that the industry is going with this new ability to measure signal performance. I have a feeling that the momentum has started there. We're going to see things catch on across the country. We flip over to the signal cabinet, the generator backup page. I just wanted to let you know that we have we developed a plan, and we're in the process of implementing this plan to facilitate the use of generators at traffic signals that experience power outages. This sounds fairly simple, but without the plug that you see installed there, the process is not simple. In fact, you need an electrician to do it, and we have a limited number of those. So So the implication here is big. With this, with the switch installed in the plug, the ability to plug in a generator, anybody at UDOT that can get the generator to this location can help. Without this, we need an electrician. So this is gonna help us in our ability to respond when we have prolonged power outages. In a similar vein, the battery backup page, we've developed a plan, evaluated equipment and developed a plan to outfit key intersections with a new battery backup system that is available now. Uses nickel zinc batteries, highly efficient, gives us roughly 5 to 8 years of life with very little maintenance, and it functions at temperatures up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Excuse me. The lead acid batteries of the past were pretty ineffective at high temperatures. I want to talk about connected vehicles next. The department has been tracking the connected vehicle world closely and is participating in national discussions. We're excited about the implications that connected vehicles have for application here in Utah. The primary benefit, or the largest benefit, is going to be in safety. So the types of applications that they're talking about can be categorized in 3 different categories. So there's vehicles communicating with vehicles communicating with infrastructure being us, vehicles interacting with things like traffic signals and things like that. And then there's also a category of vehicles communicating with others, which is pedestrians and bikes and other users of the roadway system. And what those applications will do is to help in situations such as if let's say you're making a left turn and you can't quite judge the gap, these systems will help you judge whether or not you have enough time to make that left turn. Or if you're making a right turn and you need to judge a gap in approaching vehicles, it can help with that. It can help with collision avoidance. It could warn if a vehicle is going to violate a red light. If you're approaching a traffic signal in a green, and you had an impending collision because somebody was traveling too fast at a red light, then it could warn you in those circumstances. Great. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I've heard numbers. Bantered about for the types of reductions that we can expect. The collision reduction could be as high as 80%. So the next jump in traffic safety, is probably going to be related to connected vehicles. In Utah, we want to get into the connected vehicle game. We want to do it in a smart way. We've identified an opportunity. What you need for connected vehicles is a fleet to participate. It's going to take a while for the manufacturers to convert the fleet of private vehicles. So when we talk about fleets, we're looking at fleets where we can have some influence in the short term, such as bus fleets, trucks, heavy vehicles that opt to participate. We're developing a concept where we have UTA's buses communicate with our traffic signals, and that way we can give them priority when they're behind schedule, and then reallocate that time when they're not behind schedule, when they don't need priority. And that way we can best balance the traffic in the corridor to benefit everybody. Another possibility, we're working with a trucking company out in the basin to put sensors on their vehicles that will sense atmospheric and road conditions as they travel between the basin and the Wasatch Front on US 40. It's an area where we have some gaps in our information, and these companies seem to be amenable to partnering with us, which we're excited about, and we're going to move forward there as well.
What's the cost of that?
Very little. We just have to buy the sensors to put on the trucks, and then some equipment to communicate with those sensors. It's very little cost. Back in November, we had a company called Peloton come to Utah. If you remember the news stories, they were demonstrating this ability to have trucks platoon at close range. The benefit here is this is obviously vehicle to vehicle. They see fuel savings of 5 to 7% on the front truck and 7 to 12% on the rear truck when they do this platooning. The demonstration for us, they had the trucks at 60 feet apart. It was interesting. They demonstrated what happens if the front truck gets cut off by a vehicle. The distance between those trucks didn't change, even though they applied the brakes. The front truck applied the brakes, the rear truck applied the brakes automatically, and it maintained the separation. Seems to be a pretty stable system, and those kind of fuel savings might not seem like much, but in their industry, those are huge implications, and it could result in savings to consumers and all down the line. I want to transition to the needs portion. Over the last few months, my division has been conducting a study of our ATMS network, looking at all of our devices and how we could implement a life cycle approach to maintaining our devices. So in this approach, we would look at replacing a device when it reached the end of its projected life. Right now, we have a lot of devices out in the field that are past their expected life, and while they function adequately at times, there's times when they don't, and those times tend to be when we need them the most. The instability isn't good, so we wanted to see what it would take to raise our game so that we could have a more reliable system and look at replacing devices when they reach the end of their life. These numbers represent the number of devices in each fiscal year that we expect to fail, and in each category. And then we took those devices and converted it to cost to look at what the needs might be per year. You'll see that we also accounted for some of the needs to be paid for by, for example, the express lane system. Using the money generated by that system, we're going to use $900,000 from that fund to address needs. And the balance would come from this request. And then also construction projects that happen to occur in the areas of some of these devices will cover those replacements. This graph represents those needs in each year. You see there's a backlog, that's the number of devices that have already passed their useful life, and then the orange is the next 5 fiscal years of what those, I'm sorry, not the number of devices, the cost for the devices. The average of the future years is $2.6 million per year. Averaging the backlog over the next 5 years is another 1.3, for a total of $3.9 million per year. And that would allow us to transition to this proactive strategy for device maintenance for a more stable system. So the rest of the funding that we've had in the past is sufficient, and this request includes the additional $3.9 million per year for ATMS lifecycle replacement. Yeah.
Back a slide or two. The backlog, can you extend it out over those 5 years?
I thought it was reasonable to do that, and we can prioritize which devices we extend. We could
You're not worried about failure within those 2 years?
No, and if we had to, we could maybe move things around within the fiscal years to the future years. I'm confident that we could manage this at this level.
Thank you.
I just wanted to give you a flavor, we're almost finished, of the priorities in the division for the next year. We're going to be looking to implement the managed motorway project. The connected vehicle we talked about, we want to have that demonstrated, tested and demonstrated by the end of the summer with UTA, and then we'll be looking at other possible corridors. Asset management for traffic signals. Our TOC control room is at capacity, and we need more seats. So we're gonna look to expand the number of workstations in that control room, and we're excited about the shakeout exercise. We're going to do a full scale. We're going to participate in that full scale this year, and we're also going to. We just finished a study to look at strategies to reduce the violator rate on our express lanes, and that'll be a point of emphasis for us this year. Just some of the things that are on our mind in the next year to 2 years. So, any questions?
So how do you manage to do the violation on express lane? How are you going to reduce them?
Right, so the study identified a number of possibilities, and the way we structured it was the strategies ranged from easy and not very impactful, or not very intrusive, correct, to technology solutions that probably we couldn't even do because of legal restrictions. We just wanted to see the whole range of what was possible, what folks were doing across the country. And there are some things that we can do to impact it with little cost and relatively little effort, such as we conducted a focus group with citizens, and one of the suggestions that they had, which I think we've also heard here, is that the fine be posted on the signs, so that people know when you violate and you get a ticket, this is what the impact is. There's also documentation that when you accompany enforcement activity with education, that's effective. So we need to do a better job of educating the public on the purpose of the lanes and the impact that they have when they violate, things like that, and why it's important that they not violate. A couple examples.
Well, if you give me the authority to write ticket, I can get you $1 million in one day. Because I see from from the Thanksgiving point all the way to Salt Lake, thousands of violators just getting in and out, and express lane, crossing the double lane, and just amazing. And the speed, of course.
We made the presentation to our interim committee earlier this summer, last summer, and they had asked us to look at some options. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Good report.
Okay, now we've got the traffic and safety.
We
welcome Carlos back from his sojourn up on the mountain.
Thank you. It's great to be home.
After this presentation, I wonder if Carlos could give us a brief update.
Do we have that much time?
You know what?
Depends on how long this one takes.
Not even
No pressure, Robert. I specialize in making things very fast. No, I'm glad to be here today, Commissioners night. Thanks, Coach. Casey's informed me I should just go ahead and skip the needs, so we'll suffice to say we're awesome, and we only need additional $2 million, he said. Thank you for your help. A few things we want to look at today I wanted to talk to you about. We've talked about some of this before, so we'll be very brief about it. In our traffic and safety group, I've tried to highlight our major areas of responsibility, one of them is safety programs. In our safety programs area, Scott Jones and his group have worked very hard on 2 particular projects or efforts this past year, and have brought a lot of success to it, I believe. Safe Map, which we talked about as a commission in an update meeting here about 4 months ago, if I remember correctly, or 3 months ago.
Yes, sir. That is up and running. We are registering about 1,000 sessions per month from our engineering staff on that. We have about 300 registered users on that, and it's pretty successful. We're happy enough with it right now that Scott is actually working with the group to revamp our operational safety report process, which we believe will result in a $3,000 to $5,000 savings per project. And, in the way we analyze safety, allow us to push it down to the lowest possible level. Let people do their own analysis on a project and answer some questions for themselves. We believe it'll get more traction on the project teams, and it'll be a cost savings for the department. An additional item they've worked on is this, I've written up here, is US RAP, and it is US Road Assessment Program. This is an effort through AAA, is helping sponsor this, but what this does is it's another way to take a look at the modeling of crash or concerns that we have on the highway system. Whereas SafeMap looks at our history based on crashes that have happened, US RAP looks at what we have out there from an asset management point of view or an asset point of view, and tries to predict what type of crashes, what crash rates we should have in the future based on the type of devices or the type of roadway environment that we have. We are leading the nation in this research. It is not ready for prime time yet, but it's exciting enough. I wanted to bring it up to you guys, and we'll talk to you more about that in upcoming months. Challenges and goals we have in our safety programs area. Number one, we want to make data available. Data needs to be available to all of our partners, to all of our people. We want to improve our systemic approach. That's a lot of this US RAP. And what we mean by systemic is we want to get to the point where we don't have to wait for crashes to occur before we realize we have a safety problem. We want to catch the problems before they develop. And in order to spend federal safety money on it, we need to show that we're doing that with a data-driven approach. This systemic approach and the work in US RAP is getting us further down the road on that plan. Improved coordination. We are, in all of our groups, are looking to improve our coordination with our partners. And partners kind of seem like a trite term sometimes. We use it a lot around here. But we've got some great partners, internal and external of our department. I was speaking with the Office of Highway Safety yesterday, and we talked about some possible funding that may be coming their way through NHTSA. And as we open up our books to each other, we're very open about how much we've got and what we could use it for. And there's a very open partnership to share that funding back and forth. They came right to the table. Christy Rigby came right to the table and said, look, if this funding comes to pass, we'd like to help fund some engineering programs because we think we can use it better there. And so it's great to have a team like that to work with, external and internal to the department. And our number one goal, we're going to get to zero. We haven't done it yet. We're going to get there. Our 3-year plans. We have a 3-year plan for highways. The HSIP is our federal program, the Highway Safety Improvement Program. 2017, we're expecting about $21.2 million. We currently programmed out or planned out $20.8 million worth of effort. And in 2018, we're looking at 19.1 that we have planned at this point. And 2019, we're about 19.8. We're working with the regions to identify projects, and many of the projects we talk about here, while I've given you a subtotal in the presentation, you'll get a project list during this process. Those projects are developed using US RAP, using that the SafeMap software, and work with our regions to identify what the needs are out there. So this is what it looks like. It's a federally provided program, and just want to give you that information. Our 3-year plan on our state spot safety improvement program, these are state funds. We have 2017 and 2018 programs. We get about $2 million a year on that. We've currently identified $1.4 million dollars worth of needs, and we have 1.2 identified for 2018. So we have some more work to do in this and more coordination with the regions to make sure we get those funds completely programmed before we get to this fiscal year. The great thing about these programs is they're kind of like our Swiss Army knife of funds when it comes to safety. Because they're state funds, they're very flexible. We can get them out in small dollar amounts to solve specific problems on the road. The next group I want to talk about is our signal and lighting group. Traffic studies. This year we've performed about 108 traffic studies, which is a great number. What I like more about those numbers is the duration of the actual study right now is averaging about 9 days. We have about 5 days of quality control that goes into that. So within 2 weeks, we're able to turn around an inquiry from the public or from an elected official about what's happening with a traffic issue, a signal or pedestrian issue, a count issue, a speed study, anything like that. Those are our averages. When I was in the field requesting these studies, we were running 5 to 6 weeks to get the data back in our hands. We're now down to 2 weeks. I think it's a great system that Mr. Holden put in place while he was here, and I think it's great to be able to deliver that kind of service. Our signal program, this year we've done 12 new signals, 9 of them through our procurement process, 3 of them were advertised as standalone projects. We've updated 31 signals. We did 20 intersection upgrades. These are things like left turn improvements, right turn, dang it, I shouldn't have gone there. Dedicated right turn movements would fall into this as well. Sorry about that. Advanced warning systems, we've installed 7 of them. Generally these are done in pairs, so each installation is 2 actual devices. Pedestrian crossing upgrades, we've done 12 of those. Emergency signal repairs, 26 of those, and we've installed 7 lighting projects. Our challenges and goals in this area really are continuing our process improvement. We have seen a lot of studies come in, and because we can do them so effectively now, it's easy just to ask for a study. What we've done is try to take some time and put some effort into providing our studies to all the practitioners in the field in a GIS format so they can see what the history of studies have been in a given location. And we're seeing that cut down the number of studies we're actually having requested as we move forward, so we're saving money there. 3-year plan, our existing funding for 2016 was $7 million in the signal signal program. We're asking for $9 million this upcoming year. We programmed out our full $7 million last year around the 1st of December. So our efficiencies are up, and the number of signals going in being requested are increasing with the development patterns we see. Yeah, we're asked, oh yes, I'm sorry, you're right though. We were programmed $7 million, we came back to you for $2 additional $1 million to help us get through this year. Sorry, Bill, you're right, I should have pointed that out. So we're going to ask for that $9 million in fiscal year 17 and going forward as we manage that program. Our small area lighting program is about $300,000 per year. We're not changing that request. This is what our program looks like. Initially, we have a lot of coordination to do with the local governments and the local regions on these programs here, or on this program and these projects. The next group we want to talk about was traffic safety and operations. They have a very small budget, about $400,000 a year in signing. These are the projects we will get to in the next 3 years. We have to get out and do a lot more coordination with the regions on this program. The accomplishments we got, we wanted to mention the tourist-oriented directional signs program. This is an example of one of the signs. We were challenged by House Bill 269 to get a program in place last year. We're happy to say that we were able to get the contract signed here about 2 weeks ago, and this program is open for business for those businesses in counties of the 5th and 6th class outside of urban areas, all the rules that apply to it, but it's open for business for those businesses to take advantage of. And we have our contractors on board and out talking to folks now about getting these signs installed. So we hope that really helps out the business interests of the rural areas of the state.
This was driven by the small businesses in the rural areas.
Challenges and goals for the upcoming year. We are going to spend a significant amount of time looking at pedestrian and bike routing during construction and establishing updated standards to meet ADA requirements for this. We're also going to improve our work zone safety. We challenged John and his group to take a look at autonomous vehicles within work zones. We have an example where we believe we'll have in state this spring. So we'll bring you more information as that comes to pass. Traffic safety, school and pedestrian safety. We have two areas we want to highlight on this. Safe routes to school. It's a federally funded program at approximately $500,000 per year. Fiscal year 16, we had a call for projects that resulted in enough projects to fund the program with all available funds, as well as the anticipated funds for fiscal year 2017. We actually programmed about $2 million worth of work because we had not had a call for projects in the last couple of years. So we've caught up our backlog of funding, and we're programming that, putting that into projects right now, and giving that to the regions. We have projects in these locations. We have a non-infrastructure project with the Department of Safety. We'll fund safe routes to school projects with Pleasant View City, Spring City, Moab, Grantsville, Vernal, and Santaquin. And we have 2 other communities on deck to take that 2017 funding when it gets here. So we'll work forward on getting 2018 and 2019 in place as we move into the future and confirm that money is showing up for us. Wait a second. Sorry. I skipped over something I wanted to show you guys. There we go. Two of our other accomplishments I wanted to point out, and I provide these links for you guys to look at as you'd like. I'll send you a password for the Snap to Schools. But our school and pedestrian group has worked really hard on establishing a walking school bus app. What is great about this is there are walking school bus programs around the nation, but this program, this app, it's an award-winning app. It won awards from the Public Involvement Group. Is that right, Joe? It's a national award. We competed against the likes of Ford and Coca-Cola, and we won. This app allows parents to find a group of students that are walking to school, register their children to be able to walk with them in a group, and once they get to school, they get a message back from whoever's leading that group that, hey, your kids have arrived safely at school. Everything's good. We have about 200 walking school bus group apps or groups that use this. This app alone resulted in 163,000 vehicle miles of travel reduced last year. So it seems like a small thing, but I think it's a really great tool to have. And as a parent, I worry about what happens to my kids when I leave the door until they get to school. But this allows me to know that they've made it there safely, and just gives me peace of mind. We've had inquiries about using this from other states in the nation as well as internationally. So one of our goals next is to get this out to other people outside of the state and let them use it and develop it as well. The other link we provided here is the Snap for Schools, which is the School Neighborhood Access Program. It's the routing map, that's the software that allows schools to develop maps. The reason I wanted to point this out is we're really working on coordination with our partners. This website allows schools to go in and digitally create a map and share it with the engineering staff that supports them. Our end goal for this is to be able to develop a work task order. When a community council puts a new SNAP plan in place, we would like a printout to go to the local jurisdiction on improvements that are needed to make that effective.
There are 15 now listeners.
Have they?
They're not hearing you.
Okay. Darn it. Now I'm really accountable for what I say.
You need to start all over.
No, sir. We're on a roll. Yeah, our goals for this year are to broaden our reach and involvement, really stress the pedestrian safety through involving this group with our Zero Fatalities group, reaching out to departments of health, departments of education, and working with them to build on our SNAP program, to build on the school involvement, and also start working with the pedestrians on efforts such as our Heads Up program, which Jason alluded to earlier. We'll talk just a little bit more about that when we get to Zero Fatalities.
I have a question about the SNAP program.
Yes, sir.
Is the cities is responsible to providing the service and improving it, or the school district?
The school district provides the map. And I hate to go back to yesteryear, but when I was in the field doing this was a very frustrating assignment we had. We were trying to support the school districts to make sure they had the things they needed to provide a safe route for children. And one of the assignments we received were to gather up all these maps. And we had some good people working on it, but because it involved paper copies and going to all the schools in the region, we never had a really great handle on what records are out there, let alone get a really good review done of them. This software, what we want to do is make sure we can automate that process so that when parents, community councils, and principals are putting together these routing plans, they get feedback from professionals in the traffic engineering profession about the decisions they're making and about providing the infrastructure to support those plans. So if they make the decision to have children cross the First West and Third West would be better, there's a feedback loop in there that is timely. That's the goal we want to get to. We want to improve the quality of the plans and make sure they actually happen on the roadway surface.
The reason I asked that, when Karen Bass from Washington County, she has received the assignment, but she didn't know where to go to find information and who's going to support her. She was a question. And she called you?
Absolutely. We'll get her her the information she needs.
Well, this may be kind of a weird question, but I just went to the SNAP login page, and this doesn't seem to make sense to me. It says for parents, If you are a parent seeking a school for a specific school, please contact your representative.
The SNAP walking plans are school specific and are developed under the direction of the principal. So
You're
this,
seeking a school for a
It's got a
specific
typo, though.
school?
is there a typo in it? Okay.
It looks like a typo to me.
One of the proud moments of my life is when I graduated from Box Elder High. I'll get right on that.
So, what is it saying? They're seeking a route? I would assume that's what it means, seeking a route for a
You're right.
specific school.
It should say a routing plan for a specific school. Please
Okay,
contact your
okay.
representative. We will get that fixed, sir.
Thank you.
I will provide via email into this meeting logins for all of you to take a look at this and play out the program if you like.
That's great.
Okay.
So much for box out.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, if that's the only thing you have wrong in this,
Um,
congratulations.
Okay, railroad safety. Section 130 funds are funds that come from the federal government through the Highway Safety Improvement Plan, our program. This is our 3-year plan for working with the railroads, not only Union Pacific and Utah Railways and those you traditionally think about, but also UTA. These funds are for hazard elimination and device improvement, the hardware at a crossing. We get about $1.6 million, $1.7 million a year on this. We've had a bit of a backlog that we're pushing forward and getting out. Part of that has been coordination with Union Pacific, but we've made some good headways in that lately. And so we're going to get that backlog taken care of, and then we've got our programming out towards 1.7 per year. Again, these are federal funds. I just want to bring this up so you're aware of what we're doing on it. Some of the things that we've accomplished in this area is we've established pedestrian crossing standards for all rail crossings. These crossing standards, we're excited about them because other states are excited about them, and they want to borrow them from us as well. They want to take advantage of them. We're in the process of getting those upgraded in the field, and a lot of the projects you'll see on that list when it comes to in STIP workshop involve getting those updated. Under the light rail side of our rail safety, we've completed a UDOT audit of UTA's rail safety program, and we have had an FTA audit of our oversight of that program. We completed all the action items on the UDOT audit of UTA between the two of us. We're good to go there. We're waiting for FTA to give us the final judgment on our audit, but we believe we're ready to go there in good shape. Challenges and goals in this area. Our Union Pacific resource used to be based here in Salt Lake. He's now based in Denver. That's caused us a little bit of concern. We get his time once a month for 1 week, and so we've got a lot of coordination to do with him to make sure we get the needs met for the local agencies, the local governments here, as well as all of our projects for the coordination of railroad involvement. And work with Randy's group to make that happen. Larry, Richard's been really great to help make sure that all the acquaintances are made and that we've got a good working relationship with the new gentleman, Lance Kippen is his name. And we're looking to build upon opportunities to partner with UTA on safety programs. We really want to get them involved with our pedestrian safety efforts, more with zero fatalities, and we want to be a better partner with them, or a stronger partner with them on things like Operation Lifesaver. So we know the folks at UTA, Dave Garris is great people, and we're looking forward to working with them more this year. Okay, zero fatalities. Here's some statistics. Number one, we haven't made it yet, but that aside, we reached out. We reached 265,000 people in person this year. 218 presentations at events or parent nights. Of those, 114 were parent nights. Media, we had 56.5 million impressions, 71 news stories, and 19 radio news stories on. These are television news stories, excuse me, but 19 radio news stories. We have an awareness rate of 88%, so nearly only 1 in 10 of us really doesn't understand there's a zero fatalities program and what it stands for in the state of Utah. That's pretty good. Those are pretty good odds in my mind. One of the things we started this year was this Monday message program. It's Columbus Day Discover Your Turn Signal. What we're really trying to do is get a conversation started amongst everybody, people that are out there, families. We want parents to talk to their kids, we want kids to talk to their friends. And this message is helping us do that. In less than a year of operation, we've got an 87% awareness rate with the public based on our telephone survey. That's better than I'd hoped for. We have a lot of stuff to do with this, and we're going to keep moving forward on it. I think this is a good avenue, a good low-cost avenue that we've got. We've been expanding it lately, so please keep your eyes open for these. Our challenges and goals, we're going to get to 0. We have a new effort plan with pedestrians this year, as I mentioned earlier, called Heads Up, and that's a partnership with DPS. And we're bringing on Department of Education and Department of Health as we can with it. We also mentioned UTA. What we're going to see on that is a series of multimedia, social media tweets and announcements to get the word out. We are planning a press event in spring at an intersection, and as we move forward, and we've also planned, nearly completed a pedestrian safety action plan for the state. Pedestrian safety action plan is a plan we put in place to help steer our actions with pedestrian safety, not only ours but our other partners. The folks who helped us write that were the Department of Highway Safety, the Highway Patrol, Metropolitan Planning Organizations. We reached out to the Department of Education, Departments of Health. All those folks have come together to put their ideas down on paper on how we can get a better system out there to support pedestrians in their activities. We are in final review of that and moving forward with some of the ideas that we can, low-hanging fruit on that right now. Our seatbelt usage rate I want to point out as well. In 2014, we had a seatbelt usage rate of 83%. Our spring survey, or our June survey, showed 87%, 4% increase. And we are looking for that to increase.
How did you get that number?
This is determined in partnership with the Highway Safety Office. Every spring around June, in coordination with Clicker to Ticket, they do a field survey, field observations of set areas around the state, so it's repeatable every year. And they're field observations.
Yeah,
X number of cars,
their
eyes on the road.
Because people lie.
No, this is
no,
not seatbelt.
Well, if you're ever
Present
in a
company
room,
excluded.
everyone all
Yes,
says,
they
yeah,
do.
we all buckle up.
But we're at 87% on this. Now,
Okay, so it's eyes on.
eyes on. Talking to Highway Patrol, talking to law enforcement on this. You know, they put a lot of effort into making improvements in this.
Not that I really question your percentages.
No, you should know how the numbers are generated. And next June, under the same circumstances, we'll go and do the same survey and see what our rate is. That's what we've done every year to benchmark that. In talking to law enforcement, they're a big help. They're carrying a lot of load in educating folks on this. As of the numbers I got from them in December, they had 44,000 interactions with the public since the law went into effect. Now I'm saying interactions, I choose that word very carefully because these are not citations that were issued. These are actual stops where they hand someone a flyer, they talk to them about seatbelt use, they tell them why it's important, they give them the warning, if you will, or the educational warning. 44,000 of those. And the law enforcement liaisons to the Department of Highway Safety have identified the areas of the state that need more attention, and they're working actively on that. We're happy to support them in that. We're excited about what's happening here. So that's a good thing.
Are the city police departments and county police departments participating in this in any way?
Yes, sir.
So they're doing the same thing, educating the public,
Through the
making counts?
Yeah, through the Highway Safety Office.
That's good.
They're collecting those activity rates per the police department, per law enforcement agency around the state. And they're tailoring their outreach and education and help based around those things. That's really neat to see. It's something I've never been involved with before. It's been a neat experience. So, yeah, I intended to make that short, so are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When you are improving the signals on the intersections, you're talking about the upgrading or updating. What happens to the old signals? So it stays in the asset management inventory, you get rid of it, or what do we do on those signals?
If we have hardware that has usable life left in it, we can store that. A lot of times by the time we upgrade something, its usable life is gone. The mast arm's been out there for 30 years or 40 years, and so it's seen a lot of use. It's seen a lot of movement and vibration from the weather. So a lot of that's what we can save and reuse, we do. what we can't, we recycle. We'll get rid of it. We have old cabinets get hit or stored and recycled at the regions generally. Okay. Any other questions?
Other questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
That's a good report, Bob. Thank you.
Carlos, why don't you take just a minute and tell us your fun morning?
Okay, well, it's, we're almost 3 weeks through. And, yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's a 3-day weekend for the legislature, so typically this.
So they can't do us any more damage.
This Friday afternoon tends to be an early afternoon for everyone who's trying to get out of town. Today was our last appropriations subcommittee meeting. So this is, for the last 3 weeks, we've been meeting through the subcommittee, going through all of our performance measures, our budget line items, and today they approved department's budget at the subcommittee level. And so the next step it goes to, it'll be presented by our two chairs. That's Representative Ford and Senator Harper, who's come in front of the commission a few times. They'll present that to executive appropriations on Thursday of next week. And then, you know, they have that approval step, and then it'll become part of, they'll have to, normally the budget will be the first bill after dinner on the last night of the session. So what they deal with is that what's the way I've seen it every year for the last 17 years. There was a couple things that, you know, what happens is a lot of folks come in and make requests. And, you know, you see a lot of requests for buildings because the FCM's in our committee. But there was a lot of requests for road projects as well from local governments and others. And so some of the things, I'll just mention three things were approved by the subcommittee that were not part of our request. One was a request by President Niederhauser to put more effort, more money into our avalanche control program. We've been funding that out of our operations line item, and as we have money available, we'll put new technology up the canyons. He wanted to see us move faster on that, so he did a one-time request to take $6 million right now. Going back to 1997, we have $6 million of transportation fund that's been put into the Transportation Investment Fund. He's one-time moving that into the operations line item for use on avalanche control. So he's looking to implement more Ovilex and GasX facilities in Little Cottonwood Canyon. So that was his request, so the subcommittee approved that one. There was a request by Davis County Commissioners for a Davis County Bus Rapid Transit project. Their request was originally for $1.2 million. The subcommittee funded that out of the Transportation Fund at $900,000. So this is to do environmental and some pre-design work for a BRT system that would run from Farmington down through North Salt Lake down into Salt Lake City. So that was changed to $900,000. I clarified to the committee this morning their expectations because the county commissioners wanted to see that go to UTA, and I clarified that with the committee that if it's approved, we'll develop an agreement with UTA to pass that money on. And the other one was a National Park Highway beginning the environmental process, and that was for $1.5 million. That's basically the extension of Sea Bridge Road down to I-7. And that again, I clarified.
Is that the one that goes across the book cliffs there?
Uinta County.
Through the book cliffs. It's actually, Sea Bridge Road's on the boundary, so this is mostly Grand County.
Almost is. That's
Yeah, and so this is, again, going to the local governments that have been advancing this work. They've done an economic study, and they'll be doing that pre-environmental work with that $1.5 million. Senator Van Tassel mentioned that it was really basically paving an existing dirt road. So those were approved. So essentially, you know, this is coming out of your transportation fund. I represented that 2.4 million dollars out of the transportation fund would represent a little about more than 5% of that new pavement money, that $40 million that we had allocated to the level 2 roads. And so we'll have to make some adjustments in that funding level to accommodate that.
Now, Carlos, that Sheep's Road extension we're just talking about, is that gonna be, I'm pretty sure that that's because the oil people wanna move all those super tankers. Is that road gonna be built to a quality standard that can take that kind of traffic?
I understand
There aren't
that.
any oil tankers left.
I understand that's part of the, that is
Is that-
part of the intent. You know, it's to try to provide that connection between the national parks up in Montana and Wyoming and down in southern Utah. As you know, so it's tourism related as well as industry related. Tourism is a very important component for Grand County, and so that was why that was important.
A different road like that road.
We still have, you know, you know, even though we're almost halfway, it's still a ways to go.
Yeah.
Consensus revenue projections don't come out till later next week. And that's really when the final budget juggling negotiations are going to take place.
I very much support that road. I think it has to happen, so it should happen.
So,
All right, thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, I think unless there's any questions on anything else that you've
Any
heard
other
up there.
questions for Carlos? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And before we finish up, I wanted to extend again to our elected officials from Davis County a brief opportunity if you wanted to address the commission for just a minute.
Would that be okay?
Absolutely. We're not down to the informational items yet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commission. I'm glad to be here. My name is Nika Roundy. I work for Davis County Community and Economic Development. I also chair the Davis Chamber Transportation Committee. And so we get involved with some projects that come up from the grassroots level in our county and see how that works for Davis County and regionally. We appreciate our partners here with Carlos and Chris in Region 1. We have a really good relationship with UDOT, and we appreciate that. I came today especially to see how your process works. So when you asked the first time, I hadn't sat here all through the whole meeting to figure that out, so I appreciate the second opportunity to just say a couple of things. Came to see how the process works, because as we have these projects that bubble to the surface, we'd like to come back and make you aware of the projects that we have in Davis County that we'd like some attention for. So that's what
Well,
I'm here for.
we welcome you back at any time in our public comments to advocate for your project.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
In the future, if you do come back, I'd like to hear what you're doing with the Proposition 1 money that your county
Absolutely.
did.
We're like all the other counties. We're just putting that together. Thank you.
You know, Chairman Holbrook, Commissioner Holbrook, the Davis County Commission did mention that some of the prop money would probably be helping this BRT work as well.
Yeah, because when you said that, I thought Davis County is one of the ones
Yes.
as for transit, so it's a good fit.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Nice to have you here. Thank you very much for being here. Let's go to our informational items. Vijay, come tell us the great news and keep us going here. Good to have you and Steve here. We appreciate your partnership with us.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you again for having me. I got 3 items I'd like to mention. The first is the receipt of funds. Utah was the recipient of a $275,000 grant for a Sharp 2 project. It's for phase 2 of that project for driver behavior and performance in the vicinity of closely spaced interchange ramps on urban freeways. The work, I believe, is to be done by the University of Utah with safety data collected by Virginia Tech Transportation Institute. Couldn't resist putting that little plug in. The next item is anticipation of funds. It's a message from our sister agency, federal FTA, transit agency. We noticed that they released their FY 2016 apportionment tables. They're on their website. They're expected to be published in the Federal Register later this week. or next week. But we did notice that just under $71 million was listed for the Provo-Orem BRT project. So we thought that was good news. And lastly, the item I wanted to talk about is the opportunity of funds. The Secretary of Transportation has put out a memo to help get the word out on the National Significant Freight and Highway Program. It's the discretionary freight program I mentioned a couple months ago. So there is information about that program, as well as preliminary guidance for applying and eligibility. I put a bunch of these, copies of these on the table if anybody's interested. We're trying to get the word out. But there is $800 million available nationwide for FY16, and that will increase between now and 2020. And so that's an opportunity for the state. The program is focused on mostly large projects, over $100 million, but there is a set aside, about 10% of the program, for smaller projects and rural projects.
Do we know who within UDOT might be exploring that opportunity, Carl?
We just got the notice yesterday, and we're going to be working with Nathan's group, Shane and I, trying to figure out a strategy to bring to the commission.
To bring and figure out if we might be able to get some of that money.
Yeah, I mean, this program honestly was geared around some of the large port states and some of the freight projects that cross state boundaries. So our ability, we need to figure out a strategy of where we're going to compete.
Okay.
I'm here, and it's probably in the smaller size projects.
All right.
You can put a bullet train from the Davis County to Washington County.
I'm not sure that's a freight need, but we'll keep that in mind.
But isn't that the Canamex corridor that Congress put a high priority on about 15 years ago?
Canamex was a priority about 15 years ago.
Yeah. They forgot about it now, I guess.
Any other questions for Brigitte?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's briefly have some committee reports. Gail?
No committees held since last meeting.
All right. Danny?
Well, I attended my UTA meetings, and we mentioned some things with them. But I noticed that it occurs to me this morning that UTA has in cooperation with the Department of Air Quality, got a sensor on one of the trax trains going up and down, giving real-time air quality issues.
Yes.
And it made me think, why don't we look at, maybe this is a bad thing to exist, Carlos, but we could put sensors along the I-15 corridor with some kind of a notice to the drivers that at the moment air quality, your tailpipe emission seems to be bothering people. So with a real-time position, air quality particulate meter is this right now. I don't know if that'll make people think more and more about air quality. We're doing a pretty good job now about getting Utahns to think about clean air. And that might be just something we could do to contribute to the educational process of drivers. I'll be going to Transcom next week.
All right.
That's my report.
Or maybe just put up what UTA says about the air. I saw that TV thing. Maybe
Well, but the
put
train
up
doesn't go well. Doesn't travel I-15. You got thousands of cars you go on that.
Yeah, so your pollution level is this, stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
All it does is gives you a color code at UTA. They've just started it, so we have to figure out
we
how
ought
bad it's
to
going to
at
be.
least watch what UTA is reporting and find out the applicability of what they're reporting to what Danny
That's what I was
suggested.
trying to say.
Yeah. They're just trying to be a good neighbor with this air quality effort that governor's asking
It was
for.
scary, actually. I'll let Shane, if he would report on the JPAC meeting.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner. We held
Mr. Chairman of the JPAC.
Whoever delivered that down. We had JPAC here in this room a week ago. We talked about legislative updates. Nathan gave a good presentation on the FAST Act. A lot of information exchanged that day. A lot of what's going on in the legislature and that kind of stuff. There's some interesting things going on, and everyone seemed very interested in how they can be involved.
So. Okay. I have one other little aside. There was an article in Salt Lake Tribune a month ago by a columnist about she had an orange cone from her son that he stole many years ago. And when she wrote that article, she had like 40, 50 people call in to the Tribune saying that and it was mostly males, by the way, who took orange cones from UDOT, from Salt Lake City and around, you know, as pranks for years, and what could they do with them? And I didn't know if we had a witness protection program for cones. So I asked Carlos, seriously, you know, what happened? And he said, for years, we get things back and we just receive them. So actually in my car I have 2 cones, but I'm going to bring them to Salt Lake City. But it's really quite interesting. I didn't know that there were standards for the size of the cones.
So they change over time.
And these are short cones. So I will return them to Salt Lake City, but I thought that was
No, it
interesting.
just says you've had them a long time.
That's the reason
Not
why you're
me.
interested in a witness.
I'm just no, wait a minute. I'm a conduit in this, and I told people I would not mention any names, but Ann Cannon, I'm looking at you. But we actually don't have a main receptacle place if people steal things from the construction projects to bring them back, do we?
No. People over the years, every now and then we get letters. I've gotten checks from folks that want to make amends for some indiscretions, you know, 15, 20, 30 years ago. And we deposit that in the transportation.
Do we get any copper water back?
We've never gotten any copper water.
I don't think so. But actually, you know, it's funny, but it is interesting because I was surprised at the amount of people who said they would give me. I said, thank you, you know, I received those, you know, you're welcome to bring them down, but it's one of those funny little
You can
things.
direct them to any of our offices. We'll always gladly recycle them.
Thank you.
All right, Wayne?
The Corridor Preservation Advisory Council meeting was scheduled for the 2nd of February, but it was canceled during that time.
Okay, Augie?
I attended the last week to Community Impact Board. They funded 19 projects for over $30 million, 11 million for grants, 19 about loans. And 3 days ago attended the 12th annual Dixie Transportation Expo, 72-degree temperature. We saw
He rubs that in all the time. You notice that?
Hey, look at those people that came from UDOT. They all have suntan in one day. We had about 650 people attended to that, and they had quite a bit of reception, and the ideas were presented, and they liked the projects of the Bluff and Sunset, also the extension of the Mall Drive that we talked this morning, and also the Washington City's Main Street extension that they talked about also this morning. So it was a great event.
Good.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. I did attend the JPAC meeting last week, and then our advisory council was canceled, postponed until next month. Do we have any other matters of business that need to come?
The Moab meeting.
We've got, our next meeting is the 17th and 18th in Moab. We'll get more details from Heather.
Yep.
But that's a month away.
We could offer, if anyone wants to carpool or have share rides, we can do that.
Yes. Someone will be unlucky and I'll ride with
Are you going to speak to this at all, Ken? Do you go to any of these?
I try to make some of those.
I'm going to make some of these, and Noggy and I are
To
going
the-
to team up on the southern end.
Yeah,
of
to
the
the
state.
commission, the calendar of the visits to the various local areas has been sent to you, and we encourage, if you can, make as many of those meetings as you can with your region director and the other officials of the cities and counties that are listed there. And so all of us should have received that agenda, that schedule. Good point. Thanks, Danny, for reminding us.
The local people would like to know if we care.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's please don't feel, it's not a requirement, it's managed out of Nathan's shop, but we want you to be aware and please attend if you can. Don't feel,
Right.
don't feel We ask a lot of you guys, so.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Don't forget
Yes,
your wives.
travel safely. Happy Valentine's Day. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thanks, everybody.
You hit that pretty hard.
I thought you showed my good side of my face. Good to see you.
I don't ever.
This will be posted out there.
Yeah, we started with
Thank you very much. Hopefully, it'll be interesting to take a look at it and see how that works.
Just give you a look at it.
All right.